meetings and banker meetings and everything in preparation for this whole IPO thing. And I am more excited to be here with all of you guys than some people that have some energy and some passion. Which means I will put out what you give back. Does that make sense to everybody? So I know I'm the last one right before lunch, and there's a lot of things going through your head, but I promise to give you guys everything I got if you promise to give it back. Can you do this? Say yes. Can you do this? Say yes. I love the stories. How many of you guys have heard some awesome stories on stage here? All the transformations, people losing over 100 pounds. I wanted Tyler to get up here and show all you guys his abs. If you guys see Tyler, our live model, just ask him to show you his abs at some point. The business stories, all the ambassadors, the black jackets, the blue jackets, the silver jackets. I love the stories. And it's funny watching the leaders come up and they take the stage. You know, Kevin Merriweather coming up here. Kevin's awesome. Is he awesome? He's all postured and confident and sharing with you guys, yeah, my bottom of my dashboard just passed $1 million. When in reality, right before he goes up, he just realizes that. He comes up to me all giddy going, oh my gosh, oh my God, what just happened? The stories. Real people. Meeting the leaders from market to market. And it seems like every time these days, like, see people about relationships with, some for months, some for years, some for almost 8 years. And every time I meet them, it's like a new chapter to their story, right? Something just happened for them and they got smiles from ear to ear. How many of you guys love the stories? Yeah. Is it okay if I take my time up here today, guys, to tell a few stories to all of you? Is that okay with all of you? Is that okay with all of you? So for me, the story started almost 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I was sitting in my college dorm room at UCSD down there in San Diego. Late at night, I think it was like midterm time, I was up, I was studying. And all of a sudden, a little screen pops up on my computer. AOL Instant Messenger. You guys remember that? From one of my high school buddies, and it just pops up with literally one sentence. Not a hi, not a hello, not a how you been. Do you want to make some money? Question mark. Late at night, didn't want to study. My reply? Sure. Show up tomorrow to this place at this time. Okay. Show up the next day and walk into what you guys now know is what would be a challenge party for the very first time. Saw this industry for the very first time, just like all of you guys. Random invite from someone you know, showed up on faith, wasn't quite sure what I was walking into, felt a little weird for the first couple minutes, and then someone gave you some hugs, and all of a sudden you kind of liked it. Who's had that experience, right? And saw for the first time a different option. A different opportunity, a different path. Went home that night in my dorm room bed and didn't sleep all that much because the brain just wouldn't turn off. Have any of you guys ever had Visalus give you sleepless nights in a good way? Hopefully some of you guys tonight will have a sleepless night for those of you guys that really pay attention and understand what you're sitting. That was the start of the change. See, a lot of people, they meet myself, Nick and Ryan, and they go, oh, you guys are so young, you've done this, that, and the other. You must have came from some business background or business pedigree. No! You guys, I was brought up in an environment that was so opposite from the world of entrepreneurship. My mom, an educator, a teacher, counselor, principal. My dad, a cop. A principal and a cop as parents. you get good? Great. You had to study hard. Oh, you guys had similar parents. I said, hey, maybe I'll give this thing a shot. A couple days later, my upline mentor said, well, if you want to have success, you gotta go to training. Sound familiar? Yeah. You gotta go to these events. Sound familiar? Yeah. They said there's an event coming up next weekend. It's gonna have all the top income earners, people that are making it happen. These are people you need to learn from. You gotta be there. I said, okay. They said it's in Atlanta. For those of you guys that are not very good at the geography thing, San Diego and Atlanta are not next door to each other. I said, okay. Bought a few less books that quarter, took some of my student loan money that I had borrowed, literally. Put myself on a plane with a group of people that I just met, stayed like 10 people in a hotel room that night, and I am not exaggerating. And all of a sudden, that little seed of idea that kept me up that one night started to grow. Because I saw people taking the stage, like you guys are seeing here today, stories that I knew were possible, that I knew I wanted. I saw people crossing the stage that had careers that I was told I was supposed to go get. Doctors, lawyers, corporate professionals, right? Executives standing on stage saying, I am so glad I am out of that and doing this. I'm sitting there in the audience going, wait a minute, that's what I'm supposed to work for 40 years to get up to, and there is an ending here? Why don't we just start here and skip everything in between? Does that make sense? They told me in that training to draw a big circle on a piece of paper. And then they said, just write in the circle everything that is your ideal situation, your ideal life. So let your mind go. Things you want, things you do, places you go, people you help. For the first time, someone challenged me to think outside the box. And I started to write. Left that event, guys, ended up doing very, very well as a distributor, right, promoter in the field. Obviously, that's where Nick and I developed an amazing partnership. We became some of the youngest top income earners in that company. I remember a couple years later, I was graduating college, right, still building the resume. And I don't know how many of you guys remember when you ended your educational career, whether it was high school or college or university. Did any of you guys like have a party or have family over or anything like that, right? So my parents wanted to throw this big party, and all my relatives and friends' parents and parents' friends, everybody all came over, and you know, they knew my track record, right? For those of you guys who don't know my background, I followed that book to a T. Graduated high school at 4.2, was student body president, went to a top 6 university, graduated there in 3 years total, degrees in political science, emphasis in public law, minor in psychology, did that in Latin honors, and here I am in 3 years total at my college graduation party. Everybody knows everything that I've done up until that point. We're celebrating, and the number one question that everybody on the planet asks when you finish school is, so what are you going to do now? And I look at all of them knowing that I just did all the hard work and all those degrees, and I said, I'm going to build a home-based business. People thought I was... It's funny to have calls with those people today, 13 years later. Interesting, though. Because to make that leap from everything that I was taught to become an entrepreneur, an unknown concept, something that I'd never been introduced to growing up, it took unraveling every single thing that I was told for the first 18 years of my life. It took developing or reinventing, what's that R word? Reinventing. An entire new system of beliefs to get to that point. Some of you guys coming in here today, whether it's your first event or 15th event, I'm willing to bet some of you, in order to get to where you want to go, will actually have to take an inventory of some of the stuff still stuck in your head from when you were this big, and realize that a lot of the things that you were told are not serving you today and will definitely not serve where you want to go. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, absolutely.
So myself and Nick, we built, we became successful. Matter of fact, I found myself at 21 thinking I was retired. Anybody surf out here? You guys probably don't do much surfing in North Carolina. A couple of you. Living on the beach in Del Mar, California, amazing surf right out front, walking around saying, I am done at 21. How many of you guys wouldn't mind being in that position? And then 5 years into that journey, all of a sudden getting a phone call from Nick Sarnicola saying, Blake, I just got a phone call from the owner of the company. The company's been losing money. Investors are done. They were shutting their doors. What do you want to do? 5 years. Now, for some of you guys, you're like, 5 years, that's like nothing. When you're 25 years is like a quarter of your life. It's a big deal, okay? And all of a sudden, all that doubt going back in your mind. All the yaks. Oh no, we're all of those people. Right. Do we go back to the traditional path? Do we resort back to what we've been told growing up? And while those doubts were there, guys, it was never really an option, because I'm of a belief, and leaders in the front, you guys can understand this statement. When you're in a role of leadership, leadership comes responsibility. Would you guys agree with me on that?
Yep.
When you have people that decide to follow your vision, when you have people that are putting their livelihood on your words and in your hands, how many of you guys would agree there is a responsibility to that, yes or no?
Yes.
So there comes that reinvention again. You guys, I signed up at 18, 19 years old as a distributor in a company. Nowhere on the fine print did it say, if the company goes out of business, you're supposed to save it. That was not on the agreements. But myself and Nick decided to go to work, and we say, you know what? We'll run the field. We'll try to salvage the company. Once we started really looking into how bad the situation was, we realized there was no way we would be able to save where that company was in an industry. The bubble had burst. It was done. And from those ashes came the idea of Visalus, and said, you know what? If we're going to do all of this work, let's go ahead and do it on our own, so nobody can ever pull the rug out from underneath us again, and our destiny could be in our control. And we can go out there and build something that will stay with us. Now, mind you, the only job I'd ever had at that point was a high school pool lifeguard. And Nick had done two things. He sold suits at one point, and he worked at TGI Fridays. Yes, he wore a flare. Don't tell him I told you that. What are the odds of a high school pool lifeguard and a guy that wore a flare on their resume? Salvaging a failing company, building the foundation of a corporation from scratch on little to no money, without any support or help, ever getting the thing off the ground, let alone lasting 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or becoming what we were today. What odds would those have been?
0.
You guys, it's interesting. When you do things with the right intention, the odds don't matter. If you put other people in front of you, and you really do things to bring value to people, you guys, I promise you, it's amazing how the universe will conspire in your favor. Doors begin to open. Doors like meeting Dr. Seidman, meeting Ryan Blair, right? People starting to come into our lives, and so we built the company. But guys, it took a radical reinvention to go from a promoter, which, guys, is the best place to be. How many of you guys don't mind being a challenge promoter in Visalus? Now having the burden to build everything in the company from scratch. Spending days, guys, I wrote every single word in the first welcome guide, the first website, the first product packaging, every single thing. Reinvention. Some of you guys will find yourself in that point. How many of you guys, is Visalus your first leap into anything entrepreneurial before? How many of you guys, everything else, you've been an employee, right? Most people. It's a leap, an employee to an entrepreneur. It's a leap, right? Maybe some of you guys that are thinking about going spare time to more time, or more time to full time. It is a leap. And so we built. We built the foundation, we added products, we built management, myself, Nick, and Ryan going home presentation to home presentation, and then all of a sudden in 2008, we attract life, $1 billion partner, all of a sudden this is it. Some of you guys are familiar with that history? Having $1 billion public partner, guys, a global entity. People like the Gergens coming in and saying, they see us as the future. How many of you guys think that'd be a cool place to be all of a sudden sitting there, finishing that deal, and starting that